Thank you to everyone to attending CANSURVIVE 2020, presented by Namify and benefiting Needs Beyond Medicine. We would like to thank Chad Hurst, the photographer, for all these photos of these cancer survivors for this year. We would also like to thank all the Needs Beyond Medicine's board of directors, supporters, and volunteers and interns. You can donate online 24/7 anytime on needsbeyondmedicine.org, cansurvive.org, and we also have a Venmo set up at Needs Beyond Med. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors for this year, Namify for being the presenting sponsor, Chad Hurst Photography for taking the photos of all these survivors, Staker Parson, a CRH company, for being a sponsor, Regal Theaters, Excel Fitness, Yesco Outdoor Media, Modern Expo and Events, and Red Mountain Wholesale. On behalf of Needs Beyond Medicine, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone here tonight. I'm honored to introduce one of our sponsors with Staker Parson, Brent Burr, who's the Vice President of Marketing and Sales.
So my name is Brent Burr, and I'm Vice President over Sales, Marketing, and Commercial Excellence for a CRH company, and we're a parent company to Staker Parson Companies. And I have spent my whole career with Staker Parson Companies, and we're a company, a federation of companies in Utah, Arizona, Idaho, and parts of Oregon. And we employ about 3,000 people throughout that area. We supply rock products, concrete products. We're a big road construction company. We build anything from 4-lane concrete freeways to, we'll do a driveway here and there for folks. But we are big in our communities, and we support our communities, and we support those causes in and out of these communities. Some of those are Habitat for Humanity, United Way. We support homeless shelters. We support food banks. We support Home for Our Troops, Girls and Boy Scouts. We support a number of these places that need our help, and I'm here today to show support for Needs Beyond Medicine, and this really is close to my heart because I was affected by cancer, and a lot of our employees are affected by cancer, and we pride ourselves on being a business of families. We feel we're one big family. We like to take care of those that are in need, and this program is, I think necessary. I think about what I went through, and I want to tell a little story about that. But the company that I'm with, as I was diagnosed a little over 20 years ago with on March 10th, 1999, with pancreatic cancer. And a couple of years later, I went through colon cancer. So through that whole thing, it was just a brutal experience, a lot of chemo, a lot of radiation, a lot of surgeries. But that company I worked for, stood behind me, and they flew my family down to Southern California and gave us a trip at Disneyland. And I just remember at that point when we were down there that we were at Knott's Berry Farm, and we were on a ride. And I was standing in line with my 6-year-old son, and I had my hands on his shoulders, and he never let you touch his head, man. He never let you. His due was his due, but he looked up at me and he said, "Hey, Dad, you can rub my head." And I thought that was a great thing, but I had my hands on his head, and I said a prayer, and I just said, "Hey, God, if there's any way that you can redirect this path so that I can raise this kid, I can raise him into adulthood, I could get him on a mission. If that could happen, I'd be very appreciative of it." And I think that little prayer there changed some course of events, and I don't know what it was, but I still went through a lot of chemo, a lot of radiation, a lot of suffering. But that trip, and because of that trip, I truly believe that changed the course of events. It was miraculous. And so I come home, and I just lived 6-month periods for a long time. But Staker Parson Company supported me through that whole thing, and I kind of owe my life to that prayer. And I kind of think if I wouldn't have been down there, I probably wouldn't have said that prayer. So I kind of feel so loyal to this company and almost somewhat owe my life to what they did for me. But it's been an incredible experience. And that the Parson and Staker families have been awesome through the whole thing. And we are so, thankful for all of the folks in our company that have been able to survive cancer, and even those that didn't, their families. And I just want to say what I went through, and it was brutal, but I wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world. And I honestly say that, even if I would have died. So the thing that I would ask everybody is just while you're living it, while you're going through it, there's so many amazing things that happen to you that you just need to sit back and enjoy them. I just remember in a room, a mother with no hair sitting there, and her 3 boys coming in had all their hair shaved off, things like that, kicking a soccer ball with a cancer patient. But all of those things gave me hope, because I knew other people were dealing with it. It gave me a lot of hope. And if I can say anything to anybody here, is there's always hope. And even surviving, when I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, all I was looking for was hope. And there's not a lot of hope with that cancer, but I was looking for survivors. And I truly believe that support groups like this and charities like this are what it's all about. So, and really that's what I have. I hope that helps somebody. So.
So being on the board for Needs Beyond Medicine has been a really awesome opportunity. First of all, just to expose myself to the world of cancer survivors, families who deal with the issues that come along with treatments and just diagnoses. I really don't have much exposure to that other than this group, remarkably. I've been very, very fortunate that no one in my immediate family has had any sort of cancer experience, but it's truly opened my eyes and my heart to this world. And I'm really glad that I get to be on the board so I can kind of help where I can. I don't know of any other organization that specifically targets the things that get overlooked a lot of times with welfare services or other help that's offered. It's things like grocery bills or electrical bills or gas to be able to run their kids to and from daycare. And these are things I believe that can really, really debilitate people. They're already going through so much in their cancer treatments, and then to have these these expenses beyond their medical needs just pile up on top of each other. So this is just a really great opportunity to relieve a lot of stress from these cancer patients and their families.
One of the cancer survivors that participated in CANSURVIVE 2020 is Hillary Baum, a breast cancer survivor.
When I was asked to speak today, my immediate thought was to say no. I wanted to say no because speaking makes me uncomfortable, makes me nervous, I worry, doubts start to creep into my mind. The reality is that I get asked to speak a lot. As a young mom of 3 with cancer, I get asked to speak a lot about adversity. I've learned that speaking is part of the battle with cancer. I believe that if we step outside our comfort zone, the Lord can do miraculous things with us. I'm hoping that through my words today, you will leave here eager to live your lives. The funny thing about cancer is it's never part of anyone's plan. Cancer doesn't care how old you are. It doesn't care if you're rich or you're poor, if you have health insurance or not, if you're a busy mom of 3, or if you even feel strong enough to battle it. There's never a convenient time to get cancer. Yet everyone that I know, when they get cancer, they rise up to the challenge. This disease does not define us. It refines us into someone we never could have imagined we'd become. My story starts 2 years ago. I had left my career to be a stay-at-home mom. My youngest was 10 months old. I felt tired, but what mom doesn't? My husband was working wildland fires on an average of 80 hours a week, so a lot of the burden fell on me. It was especially busy that summer. I started to experience some symptoms of mastitis while I was nursing my baby. And with some encouragement from my husband, I finally decided to go see an on-call doctor. She thought it was probably mastitis as well, but we had talked about my unlucky encounters with breast cancer. You see, my mom had breast cancer 7 years ago, my sister-in-law had it 6 years ago, and my best friend of 30 years ago had it 5 years ago at a young age of 31. I knew it just couldn't happen to me. I had been through all of it with them, but there was a thing in my mind that said it might be. There was a series of tests, and I was diagnosed after a biopsy with breast cancer. I met with my oncologist, and we went over some tests that I'd have to have that week, and one of them was a PET scan. And after that test, I met with him again, and he sat down in a room with my husband and my sister and myself. And he said, "I'm sorry to tell you, but your cancer's spread. It's in your liver and your lymph nodes. And at this point, it has become no longer curable." I stopped him there and I looked at my husband. He hadn't been with me at many of the appointments, and I knew he was going to have a hard time processing this. And I looked at him and I said, "Do you know what this means?" And he looked at me and said, "No." And I said, "This means this is terminal." At that point, all of our lives had changed. It was no longer the same for me. I wasn't running a long-distance race. It became very short. Every plan that we had created for our family disappeared. I tried to process that my life expectancy would be 2 to 5 years, that I'd be in treatment for the rest of my life, that I would never hear the words remission or cured. It was heavy. We grieved, and there were many tears. As I told my children, my family and friends, there were more tears. You see, this disease is not an individual disease. It did, will, and always will affect my family. Cancer can feel isolating. Don't let it. Cancer can heal broken relationships and foster new ones. Cancer has become a blessing in my life. During the first few months of treatment, my trial was very visible. A bald head is a dead giveaway. I often caught strangers smiling and holding doors for me, so it was easy for me to share my story. Having cancer gave me the courage to talk to anyone. I had so many moments of love and connection. They would happen at a gas station, Home Depot, or even on my front porch. I had people bring meals, take care of my kids, and drop off gifts. I had so many people telling me they were praying for me, sending me good vibes, or just thinking of me. I felt so loved. I have learned that all of us are going through trials in our life. Most of them are not visible. No one's trial is harder than anyone else's. People are feeling alone, isolated, and hopeless. I would ask you to treat everyone with that same love that I felt. Love yourself. Move your body for 20 minutes a day. After chemotherapy, my body hurt just to bend down. I started with a little walk and then a light yoga and eventually got stronger. It was hard. It's still hard, but keep trying. Find a way to de-stress. Don't let that build up in your body. Meditate, find new hobbies, or even dance it out in the kitchen. Keep dating your spouse. Call your sister. Hug your mom. And play with your kids. I would encourage you to make the memories. Be in the pictures. Take the vacation. Don't wait for the perfect time to have enough money or enough time. It'll never be convenient. Go live your lives today.
Number one, I'm a cancer survivor as well. And so when I was given the opportunity to join the board, it said to me that this is real. This is real-time support out there. And being on the board, whatever I can contribute, whether it's my time or learning more about how to help others, other cancer survivors and their families and stuff, trying to find some sort of donation, any little thing that I can do is very satisfying to me, that I am doing something that someone out there is going to get that help they need to get through their cancer treatment. Cancer's big, it's real, but we gotta keep fighting it. People should support Needs Beyond Medicine because it's an organization that is doing real things for people in real time. There's a lot of organizations out there. I get that. But this organization is just so genuine, and just whatever they have, what we have as a board, we want to give. We want to get that to the right person, to the right family, to get them what they need. And by supporting Needs Beyond Medicine, your support is going directly to the person in need. Our board, we volunteer. We're not asking for you to donate to pay us. We're asking for you to donate to get it to that family, that survivor that really needs help. And even if it's just a little bit, I can tell you from experience, a little goes a long way when you're fighting cancer.
The next is CANSURVIVE 2020 participant Carlee Bradford, who had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
My wedding date was August 20th, 2016. Planning a summer wedding can be kind of crazy, with the usual vacations and holidays and working around everyone's busy schedules. I was working full-time, plus trying on wedding dresses and deciding on flowers and choosing the menu and more. So when I continued to feel more and more run down as the summer went on, I assumed it had to be from all that was going on. I felt a deep sense of fatigue, unlike anything I'd felt before, along with occasional body aches, like when you have a cold or the flu, minus all the other symptoms. I found that taking a couple of ibuprofen or Tylenol took the edge off, and I could function pretty close to normal. By the time August 20th rolled around, I was taking the pills every 4 hours during the day. After a beautiful wedding day, I hoped that a slower pace would help me rejuvenate. However, 2 weeks later, I remember waking up one morning and thinking something was not right. I was always a healthy person leading up to this, so I didn't even see a primary care physician regularly. So that next week, I went to the urgent care. They did some basic blood tests and found that my levels were inexplicably low and referred me to a hematologist right away. After a bone marrow biopsy that they thought looked good, it took another 3 weeks to peg what was going on. I remember the hematologist telling me he wanted me to get a PET CT scan done. When he said that, I knew he was looking for cancer. You see, two of my younger sisters had undergone treatment for lymphoma in 2012 and 2015. I hadn't guessed that was going on with me, though, because while they both had swollen lymph nodes and felt fine leading up to diagnosis. In fact, one of my sisters ran a half marathon less than a week before starting chemotherapy. I was experiencing different symptoms and was feeling sicker by the day. Also, lymphoma is not typically a familial cancer, though my family has definitely become an anomaly with my dad's additional diagnosis of lymphoma in 2018. The scan revealed what no young, newly married woman wants to hear: stage 4 non-Hodgkin lymphoma. I was devastated. I couldn't believe it was really happening in a mere 6 weeks after I got married. But I remembered something my mom always told her children growing up: you can do hard things. So I tucked that into my mind and got ready to charge ahead. Chemotherapy started within 2 weeks, but it wasn't smooth sailing after that. A month into treatment, when I should have been feeling a bit better, I was getting unexplainable fevers. After many nights in the hospital, we discovered the chemotherapy wasn't working and the cancer was still growing. My only thought when I heard this news was, okay, what do we do next? I started on a new regime of much more intense chemotherapy that required me to stay several nights in the hospital at a time. My sweet new husband stayed every single night with me and ate enough hospital food to last both our lifetimes. One of the treatments was over New Year's, and we had the world's quietest New Year's Eve party at 8 p.m. before I zonked out from all the Ativan. After 2 cycles of the new chemo, I was thankfully starting to improve. My last chemotherapy treatment was at the end of January. Then it was time to prepare for a bone marrow transplant. I was lucky to be matched with an unknown donor and was admitted to the hospital in March of 2017 for 29 days. Those were some of the hardest days of my life. I was so sick and couldn't leave my room for most of it. Going home at the end of that stay was one of the best feelings, and I remember crying when I got home. The next 5 months were so slow on the recovery front. I remember at 6 months post-transplant, having a few days in a row where I woke up and didn't feel sick, and being so excited when those days continued. Today, I am 3.5 years post-transplant, and have had clean scans and excellent blood tests, and so much gratitude for good health. Everyone knows someone who has had cancer, but it's not the same as having cancer. When you are diagnosed with cancer, everyone comes out of the woodwork to rally around you, and it's amazing to see and feel the love and the support. It buoys you up and makes you feel like you are strong enough to tackle the mountain looming in front of you. Then, as the shock wears off, people get back to normal life, and it can start to feel somewhat lonely. That's totally understandable, but I remember how meaningful it was to have people send a little package or a note or even a thoughtful text to show that they were thinking of and praying for me, even months into the treatment. It was such an appreciated boost. If I was to give advice to someone who knows a friend or a loved one going through cancer, it would be to remember that for them, it's a very long, scary, exhausting road. Don't forget that the hard days are many, and show them that you're still there throughout the whole process, not just the beginning. This is applicable in more situations than just cancer. Many people are working through things, like other illnesses or tragedies, that last a lot longer than the initial shock. And to those going through a cancer diagnosis personally, turn to your loved ones and God for support. Be pleasant and kind to the doctors and nurses and those who are helping you, even when you don't feel well. And remember, you can do hard things too.
So I'm the treasurer, and I see the money coming in and the money going out. And this is a true nonprofit. We are running at minimal expenses. A lot of people are volunteering. A lot of people are donating their time and money, and every dollar that is given to Needs Beyond Medicine is well handled and taken care of, and every single person who receives relief from Needs Beyond Medicine is looked at very carefully, and we handle the dollars very carefully. So the people who are receiving this money really truly need it. And there's so many people that need this, and the only way that we can continue to do this is by people donating money, their time and effort with our fundraisers. And yeah, so there's a handful of ways to get involved, but so go online, buy these things that we're auctioning off. Be generous, because every single dollar that is given will go directly to this effort of relief for cancer patients.
CANSURVIVE 2020 participant, Jacquelyn Penrose, a breast cancer survivor.
Hi, my name is Jacquelyn Penrose, and I was first diagnosed with cancer back in 2015 when I was 26 years old. It was a very scary and challenging time for my family and me, but my 2-year-old daughter and my husband gave me a purpose to push through. I was treated with chemotherapy, radiation, and multiple surgeries over about 18 months. I began to feel much better, and life was way more normal than having a bald head. And despite the awkward hair regrowth stages, life was going well. However, a few years into my checkups, my health began to grow worse, and I was told the cancer had spread to a metastatic breast cancer diagnosis. I am now almost 2 years into my metastatic journey of daily medication, monthly appointments, and quarterly scans. And I'm feeling much stronger and healthier than before. Living with cancer is challenging, but I've learned a few things over the past 5 years that I wanted to share. For those living with cancer, the following has been helpful for me to remember. First, life is much more enjoyable and manageable when you live in the moment. Cancer can be very overwhelming, especially when focusing on the future. So I found that taking it one day at a time really helps me. Second, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. In fact, it takes a strong person to ask for help. I found that being specific about what would assist me is the most helpful for me and the giver. For example, the most helpful things for me, chemo, no strip. The most helpful things for me were play dates for my daughter and financial help through donations and organizations such as Needs Beyond Medicine. By being open to receiving help, I saw firsthand how many people loved me. Third, feel all your feelings, but try not to get stuck in them. When I feel heavy or depressed or have unpleasant emotions, I found it best to truly feel them rather than suppress them and pretend I'm okay. In my experience, feeling the negative emotions allows them to pass and new emotions eventually come. Fourth, find things to be grateful for every day. There is always something to be grateful for, and focusing on gratitude will change your perspective. I have found it also makes it easier to find more things to be grateful for in your life. Lastly, be your own advocate. You know your body best, and you get to decide what feels right for you. It's okay to seek out a doctor that has the perspective you want, or to ask for a second opinion. For those who love someone living with this disease, here are a few tips that have made a difference in my life. Be present for the people that are going through this and love them through all the changes. Treat them the same as before, because they are in fact the same person, although they feel quite different. They are just going through a new challenge, and the best thing to do is be there for them. Find out what would be truly helpful for them and offer support in that way. If you have a kind thought regarding assisting them, act on it. Don't forget to support both the patient and their caregiver. Both individuals are going through the illness in different ways, and both need support. The caregiver is often forgotten because their struggles aren't as visible. I'd like to conclude with advice I received from my friend Kim White, who courageously battled cancer for over 6 years. She reached out to me when I was told my cancer was metastatic. And she said this, "I know this sucks. I know this is heartbreaking. We grow when we are forced out of our comfort zone. And there's nothing like cancer to push you out of your comfort zone." I found her words to be both empathetic to the hardship of cancer and focused on the positivity that could come from the challenge. Even though going through cancer can be so difficult at times, I know I wouldn't have realized how strong and loved I am without cancer stretching me outside of my comfort zone, and for that I am grateful.
This is such a wonderful opportunity to help patients in need, and not necessarily for their healthcare needs, right? You hear firsthand the stories of so many survivors and, families of loved ones who have passed. So it is life-changing because thankfully I haven't experienced cancer, or I don't have a family member that's experienced cancer, but when you hear these raw emotional stories, it really changes the way you think and the way you look at life. So yes, it has been very impactful, and I'm so fortunate to be on this board.
With hearing the survivors speak and just getting to know them when we take their photos, I think every person has different outlooks, but the same at the end of the day of just saying they're trying to survive for either their family, friends. There's obviously a driving force behind their survival and their individual story, whether it be their kids or their spouses or a family member that's helping them through it. I think each person has their own unique story. It's not like a cut and dry on saying this is each cancer survivor and this is what these people are motivating to survive this deadly disease. The biggest reason why to support Needs Beyond Medicine is of your money that is donated stays in Utah, so it could be a neighbor, a family, a friend of yours that you aren't sure going through treatment. They could help. We could help them individually with their expenses while they're in treatment. I think the biggest thing also with 2020, which was unique, that we started doing was we doubled the amount that each patient could receive. So obviously more donations will continue to help that, and then maybe hopefully down the road we can increase it again with the influx of donors. Thank you for joining us for CANSURVIVE 2020. Every donation we receive tonight will go directly into the relief program, which helps cancer patients currently in treatment with non-medical costs. Tomorrow morning, November 7th, we'll be at Excel Fitness from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., where you can pick up your online auction winners, donations, and t-shirts as well. Excel Fitness is located at 6151 Highland Drive, Holiday, Utah, 84121, and we'll be on the north side of the building inside double doors. We'd like to thank everyone for participating in this live stream tonight, and we look forward to 2021.